All right, everyone, good morning. We will call the Committee on Appointments to order at 8 a.m. Okay, just a few things on the agenda today, starting with a resolution confirming Mayor LeGrand's appointment of Rick Truer to the City Planning Commission.
So moved.
Support.
Conversation on this, colleagues? Yes, Commissioner Isasi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was able to chat with Ms. Turkelson, who is our liaison for this body, and she's appreciative of Mr. Truer's ability to come back on the board. So he had served in the past, had left because of a job change, but he's a second warder as well, so appreciate his willingness to serve.
Wonderful. Yeah, I think the Planning Commission is one of our most instrumental bodies to the city, and I'm happy folks are able to serve. And my hope going forward is that we continue to diversify that board, that there's folks with different perspectives and ages and groups. Mr. Truer currently works at the chamber, correct? I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, that's wonderful. That's great perspective, but I'm hoping we can continue to get folks with diverse backgrounds as well. But all right, let's call the vote here. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? It carries. Moves us to our next appointment here. This is a resolution confirming Mayor LeGrand's appointment of Shiona Nedifisky, apologize on that pronunciation, to the Community Relations Commission.
So moved.
Support.
Conversation on this appointment, colleagues? All right.
Just a reminder that recommendations do come from their body. So unlike usually when we have appointments coming through just an application process, and then the mayor or commissioners appoint, the community relations then gives a recommendation for their body. So it's a little bit different than just a kind of a reminder for us and for those who are watching.
Nice, thank you. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. That brings us to a resolution confirming Mayor LeGrand's appointment of Carlos Pava to the Community Relations Commission.
So moved.
Support.
Conversation on this appointment, colleagues? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? It carries. Lastly, a resolution confirming Mayor LeGrand's appointment of Kevin Austin to the North Quarter Corridor Improvement Authority.
So moved.
Support.
Conversation on this, colleagues?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner.
I just have a question for Ms. Bosker. How many openings does this leave us at then?
This fills the last vacancy.
This is the last vacancy, and Mr. Austin is representing a resident in the
Correct.
corridor, right?
Yep, he'll be
Okay.
serving as resident.
Okay,
Wonderful.
thank you.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? It carries. And now a discussion on the current board and commission vacancy list.
I'll start by letting you know that there are 3 resignations on the agenda for this afternoon.
Okay.
One of the Civilian Appeal Board members is formally resigning rather than wait until her position is filled. And then Economic Development Corporation, an anticipated resignation, and Urban Agriculture. So there's some more vacancies to the boards where there were already a couple, but
Yes.
we're still moving through. The mayor has, and the mayor and commissioners all have a civilian appeal board, just the current application status, and I know that's on everyone's mind to fill those vacancies. And then we're also hoping to fill the last Community Relations Commission spot. We've got a list of some possible recommendations that we're working through vetting.
All right, thank you very much. Any further comments or questions from staff or colleagues? All right, easy enough. We will adjourn the Committee on Appointments at 8:04 a.m. Have a great morning.
right, good morning, everybody. I think we got everyone ready. It's 8:30. We'll go ahead and get our fiscal committee meeting here underway. Item number one, we've got a resolution authorizing $50,000 in support of the recommendations, the SAFE Task Force through a pitch and highlight night.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. We got Mr. Kane here to tell us about this item.
Thank you, Commissioners. You guys all look beautiful today. Just want to let you know that.
Thank you.
So this is an annual event we've been doing for the last 5 or 6 years. It's an opportunity for community organizations that are helping us limit gun violence in our community. So this would be an opportunity for 5 different organizations to get awarded up to $10,000 to execute their programs. We have had programs such as recreational activities, mental health training, mental health support for families and individuals, and I'm happy to say we've even done a movie with this with this funding, a very good movie that I hope to be able to show at the public safety meeting in the near future. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Awesome. I'll turn to my colleagues and see if they have any questions or comments. All right, seeing none. Your flattery will take you far, by the way. Thanks
Thank
for that. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It carries. Item number 2, we've got a resolution authorizing funding to the West Michigan Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and the West Michigan Asian Association, as well as the African American Art and Music Celebration in support of event promotion and cultural awareness with Art Prize 2025, and that's in the amount of $15,000.
Thank you. I will try to show, excuse me, sorry.
So moved, and I need to recuse myself from this.
Okay.
Support.
All right, we've got.
Oh, hold on a minute. Did you say, did you just say so moved?
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, take it away.
Yep, we're good. Thank you,
Okay,
Commissioner.
wanna make sure we're
Appreciate it. All right, moved and supported. I'll hand it back to you, Mr. Kane.
Thank you. So this is something that we've done for probably 5 or 6 years also. This is an opportunity to work with cultural organizations in our community to help promote Art Prize, to make sure that people are represented, they see themselves, and they also feel like it's an event for them also. So this would provide funding for the West Michigan Asian Association, the African American Art and Music Celebration, which I am the liaison to for the city. I should say that also. I'm the liaison of that committee for the city. That's why I'm bringing this item. And then also for the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. So each of those organizations would get $5,000 to help promote Art Prize in various ways, including supporting artists directly.
Awesome, thanks. Commissioner Kilgore, you got any questions or comments on this one?
Nope.
All right. No, I'll make a comment. I know we had a briefing on Art Prize at our last meeting, and it's always a question or a comment about how we can get all the millions of people who come to our city to view the surrounding neighborhoods and things like that. So I'm excited about this. I think it'll be helpful to engage various groups and demographics within our city and help everybody realize a lot of the benefits that an event like Art Prize can bring. So. With that, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, the motion carries.
Thank you. Appreciate y'all.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it. All right, number 3, we've got a resolution accepting a $10,000 Americans with Disabilities ADA Infrastructure Grant Award from the Michigan Association of Municipal Clerks.
So moved. Support.
All right, moved and supported. I'll turn to Mr. Hondorp here.
Yeah, so this is an interesting grant. So the state of Michigan, through last year's budget, appropriated $1 million for infrastructure grants to bring polling locations up to compliance and add other ADA features. But they appropriated it to the Michigan Association of Municipal Clerks, who's not a governing body. So it's up to the MAMC to run the grant program, which Grand Rapids is a member. And so they said they were doing $10,000 grants. So for this grant, I was approached even before this grant was coming out. I was looking for other grant dollars from New Hope Baptist Church over on Delaware, and which has been a great polling place over the years. And an impactful neighbor. That precinct's a low turnout precinct. So, and they've hosted us for Souls to the Polls in the past. So they reached out about getting an ADA door to their lower level gym door. I'm like, well, I don't have any grants out right now, but we'll see what we have in this grant. So was provided. So we're working through that process. The $10,000 doesn't cover their whole project, but they said they'll come up with the other part of it. So that's that we're going through that. This is part of that process of how we do grants in the city, of even from 10,000 to millions of dollars. So I'm finally working my way through the proper process on a grant. So
Love it.
so this will be kind of, so it's with, it is coming from the state through the Michigan Association of Municipal Clerks.
Okay. What are our opportunities frequency-wise or cadence-wise to seek these types of grants? Is it just kind of once per election cycle, or what is it?
It's just when they just kind of appear, because last year I got $100,000 from the Institute for Responsive Government, and then if you remember back, the Center for Tech and Civic Life back in 2020, we got like 400,000. So I think as organizations, as state appropriates, these kind of prop up, and then we get security grants. So it's kind of hard to plan long range for them because they kind of pop up and then they go away. And
Yep. No, that's understandable. Thank you. Colleagues, any questions or comments on this one? Nope. All righty. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries. That'll bring us to item number 4. We've got a resolution accepting a $720,000 grant award and approving an agreement with the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, MDHHS, for the fiscal year 2026 Michigan Medicaid CHIP Lead Hazard Control Community Development Grant Program.
So moved.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. Good morning, Ms. Bohach.
Good morning. I'm sorry that's so long.
It's all right.
It's not our program. We just run it. So this is actually our 8th grant award with this program, and it really focuses on children that are CHIP enrolled who have very high elevated blood lead levels. So it's a very narrow program. So we don't really advertise it. We get those clients through the health department, who are our partners in this work. This particular grant would run through October 1 of 2025 through September 30th of 2026.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions, colleagues?
Yes.
Go
So
ahead.
what is the, Ms. Bohatch, the application of the grant? Like, what is it actually used for? Is it helping with services for the families, helping them repair stuff in their homes? Like,
So it's similar to our housing rehabilitation program, but it's very narrowly focused to those who the health department have identified as being poisoned. So our housing rehab staff will actually bid out the projects and do all of that, and then the health department does the outreach. They will also do what's called the LIRAs and the clearances and things of that's required in terms of that completion of the project.
does it matter if they own the home or not?
Yes, they do own the home. In some cases, there are some rental, but it's really focused on the child
Right.
and the unit.
So they'll do it regardless if they own or don't own.
Yeah.
Yeah, good question, Commissioner.
These are
Appreciate
sort of
that.
extreme cases.
Yep, thank you. All righty, seeing no other questions, I will call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries. That'll bring us to item number 6. We've got a resolution approving a grant agreement with the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy in the amount of oh no, did I skip one?
Yep.
Oh, so sorry. Number 5, we've got a resolution approving a community grants program grant agreement with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency in the amount of $959,752.
So moved.
Support.
All right, moved and supported, and we'll welcome our city staff here to tell us about this one.
Yeah, good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
My name is Mike Stahl. I'm a project manager in the engineering department. In 2024, Congress appropriated funds for the Butterworth Street Stormwater Project. And so this funding is coming to us as a community grant program funding through the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. The item before you is just to approve the grant agreement with the EPA, which is a critical piece of funding to improve the stormwater drainage that along Butterworth Street from where it intersects with O'Brien Road out to the city limits line. The project's currently in design, and I expect that will wrap up shortly. Bidding should be later this fall, and with hopes that we have a construction start in '26.
Great, thanks for the info. One quick question. I'm very familiar with that route. I've driven it many times, and I know, especially when it rains, how bad the storm water can accumulate. Is it just kind of addressing a couple of those spots, or is it truly more of a reconstruction, kind of more comprehensively?
Yeah, so this funding is going to be combined with other funding that we at the city have budgeted. And so that whole road is going to get reconstructed, and this funding will be help there's no ditches out there currently. There's a lot of sedimentation in that area, so there will be a water quality device that's installed. So we are going to completely reconstruct that road and then add in stormwater features with this funding.
Got it. Okay. Thank you. Questions or comments?
Do you happen to know what the total amount of that full project is?
We're estimating it's at 3.3 million right now.
Thank you.
All right. Seeing and hearing no other questions, I'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries. And that'll bring us to item number 6. Now we've got a resolution approving a grant agreement with the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy. And this one's in the amount of $3 million.
So moved.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. I'll kick it back to you.
All right, thank you. So the item before you is to accept this grant agreement with the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy in the amount of $3 million. This was appropriated by the state in 2024. This funding will be utilized to build the necessary infrastructure to connect in the proposed solar array at the Butterworth landfill to the city's primary circuit line. This project's also currently in design, and we expect bidding to be also this fall, with a construction start to be anticipated in spring of '26.
Awesome, thanks. Just, I guess, in layman's terms, basically this amount will be prepping the site or kind of building out some of the initial infrastructure such that once we get funding down the road to build out the actual arrays itself, then there'll be kind of one step already in that direction. Is that right?
Sort of. So what we have our primary circuit, right, for the city's electrical system, and in order to get the electricity from where that solar array is at the landfill, we actually have to run a circuit line out to that site. So some of this funding is going to be to install that line and reconstruct the road, Wealthy Street, that it's where that the project will be, in addition to having switches and all that fun electrical equipment that can connect in the solar array to the project.
Okay, got it. Thanks for that info. Colleagues, any questions or comments on this one? All righty, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries. Thanks, and nice to meet you. Item number 7, we've got a resolution approving a change order to the contract between the City of Grand Rapids and High Street IT Solutions, LLC, in the amount of $690,500.
So moved.
Support.
All right, moved and supported. Ms. Claren, I believe you're talking about this one.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. This one is, yes, a change order. When we originally did our contract with High Street, one of the statements of work had to do with post-go-live support. The statement of work anticipated a certain level of need. Since go-live, we've seen that we need more help as far as stabilization, and then the further refining of reports, as well as extra help with the budget module. So this covers all those bases. I did include, because I anticipated the question, where are we at with our High Street contract? I cataloged the various change orders for you, and we're up around $9 million with this change order. And then we anticipate a budget amendment to accompany this. We still have some ARPA funds remaining that we can use this towards.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. Any questions or comments, colleagues?
So, does this mean that, do you think that there's going to be any more amendments that are going to be necessary, or?
I'm hoping we can, over the next 6 months, refine what our monthly need as far as that support is. It was extremely high in the summer as we were, figuring out, revising configurations, things like that in the Go Live environment. So we're seeing our service tickets go down. So that's why this contract only goes through December. I'm wondering if, we have to assess if our original SAL, where we have that monthly amount of service level, is that going to be enough January, and what that annual contract we talked about back when we originally adopted this contract in 2023, is that going to be an adequate level? Is this, are we seeing more need for support just because in some cases we do have green staff, or, we're also we had the, project turnover, I guess, on both sides with key people leaving. So that could be another driver of why we need this extra support right now as well. So it's really just hedging our bets, as well as with the audit going on, having that extra High Street support as well, to make sure we have the key people we like working with, they know us, keeps them plugged into the project as well. So it's also paying to keep some people that were with us through implementation around, so they don't hop to another project. So that was part of our discussions as well. So I'm hoping to follow up as far as like a debrief on the ERP go live within the coming months, and then I'll be able to, let you know where we're at with that ServiceNow statement of work, if we're going to be okay after January without this extra support, or if we want to invest more in High Street support. I'm also exploring getting an Oracle resource embedded with staff for extra training as well, if it's more helpful going directly to Oracle at that point. So a couple things in play to see which way we want to proceed.
Got it. Thanks. Good question, Commissioner. So I guess, so for example, my private job, I do some of this work too. We're actually about to cross the 1 year mark since our go live date. So is High Street going to be kind of like the consultant on retainer to help with the ongoing configuration needs that are more or less above or more complex than what the staff's current knowledge is?
Yeah,
that sort of the
so
relationship?
we do have 2 system administrators that take down kind of the straightforward tickets that they're able to do.
Yep.
Because of the issues we've had during go live, one reason they're not able to catch as many right now is they didn't have the knowledge transfer during the project, because we had a lot going on during the project, as you know. So
Yep, which is very
that's one
common.
thing that's going to happen. But we do have High Street on retainer. I believe it was 5-year post go live support.
Okay.
Where they are, there to help us. Oracle, one reason it's one of the reasons actually we chose it is they do their updates quarterly to the system, where they apply patches, things like that. So having that extra line of, triage is helpful for implementing those kind of things. And opposed to like a lot of software systems, they'll go through a patch every, 2 years or so, and it's a big lift for the community, for the city or whoever. So.
Yep. Okay. That's helpful. And I would say that's best practice too, to have, experts on retainer. I think depending on the size of the organization and the skill level of internal employees, it can look different, whether it's like a, monthly subscription type or build by hour and help and whatnot. So, yeah, definitely curious to hear more about what that relationship will look like. So.
Absolutely.
So what was the total budgeted amount for this project, and how close are you?
To budget? Okay, so original, or are you saying amended? Because we did start out with all in, if we're talking about the 5-year agreement, implementation, as well as all the other statements of work, so post go live support, having ADP as a contract to help us do our tax compliance, and then we have things like Simpro to help with cash management. That all in was $10.3 million. So as you can see from the change order, we've added about $3 million more onto that. So we're up around $13.3 million right now for a 5-year all in.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is
So
if we ended up at 5 years, like what is the projection of what that number's going to be, or does it?
I'm hoping to hold. I'm hoping I don't have to add on extra support. I'm hoping this is it. But again, I think just to do, right now we're assessing where we're going to be with this ongoing support. I'm hoping I can give you a presentation in a couple months to show you here's the ERP, here's our go live, lessons learned, and then gains as well, what efficiencies we've picked up, and then what the ongoing outlook would be for it. So yeah, I can also provide you a breakdown by each vendor if you'd like, to see where we're at in our spend and what the annual amount should be now going forward relative to our previous ERP system, if that's helpful, just to put it in context, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I think it'd be great at some point just to get like even just a 5-minute brief
Yeah,
or a,
absolutely.
email presentation on sort of how it's all gone. And I think to your point too, it's really important to call out the the efficiencies gained, because I mean, these projects have, can sometimes have sticker shock for sure, just given their nature. But I think it's when you consider the money you're saving on a lot of processes and automation and
Yeah.
things like that, that can have a quick turnaround period where you're net positive value overall after just a couple years. So definitely would be interested to see some of those pieces too. So.
Yeah, and I would want to call out, I don't see a lot of the staff in here right now, some of them, but, I credit the staff with hanging in there. It wasn't an easy project. Our go live got pushed back many times, and that's frustrating, and they're still, grappling with this, with this ERP implementation and trying to get it. We're trying to stand.
Yep.
So this contract is going to help us do that.
Yep, which I can assure is not a unique to the city of Grand Rapids. I think, yes, those projects are very comprehensive and require a lot of change management. So
Yep.
I fully understand. Okay, well, on that question, I'll call the question here. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, it carries. That'll bring us to item number 8. We've got our bid list resolution for September 9th, 2025.
So move.
Support.
All right, moved and supported.
These are all fairly routine. I don't think there's anything specific I would call out. If there are any
Okay.
questions, myself or other departments are here to answer.
Yep, thank you. And that starts on page 19 of the packet. I always like to point that out for people who are curious. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion carries. Which will bring us to item number 9. We've got our comptroller's warrant report for the period of August 12th, 2025 through August 25th, 2025, and that's in the amount of $204,269,000, $925.75. And we'll turn that over to our city comptroller, Mr. Max France.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the period referenced there, cash payments were released totaling approximately $204.2 million. This amount includes approximately $5.6 million for employee payroll expense and just over $286,000 for income tax warrants during that period. In terms of quantity, 1,038 income tax refunds were issued and 990 accounts payable checks and electronic payments were issued. As stated in the memo, these funds were issued for payment not by any individual in the city comptroller's office and not in accordance with the city charter. There is a paragraph that has been added to this report that was not submitted by myself or my office. It states something in regards to all of the applicable rules and laws and regulations are being followed. I have requested a list of what regulations and laws that statement is referring to. It has not been provided at this time.
Okay, thanks. We'll go ahead and receive and file that, which brings us to item number 10. We've got our treasurer's report for the period of August 12th, 2025 through August 27th of 2025. We'll turn it over to you. Welcome back.
Thank you so much. It was a lovely trip up to the Upper Peninsula.
Go ahead.
So good morning. With our report today, actually for our last 2 reports, trying to add a little bit more flavor of the economic data that's out there, just to kind of show you some of the things where we're having, why we'd say there should be a rate cut, why we think the Fed's holding the line. As of this morning, there's over a 92% probability that we're going to have a 25 basis point rate cut coming up here in the meeting next week. But again, there's still a lot of economic data that's going to be churned out between now and then, and you're going to have a lot of political rhetoric. I think what I want to make sure that you see in this report is that we are focused on the stability of the city, the stability of our city investments and our funds. We are keeping our eye out for this type of activity to see if it will have any type of negative impact on us and how we need to adjust and be flexible. Our portfolio is extremely flexible. It's quite a bit of money in our short-term environment right now where we're investing in U.S. Treasuries less than 1 year. So as these types of events happen, we're going to be able to adapt and change and reposition our portfolio to really perform very well in the future. And when I say very well, I kind of set a target that I would like to see our portfolio earn between 2.75% and 3.25% over the long term. And really, this is to build this out so that we structure the portfolio in order to continually have consistent interest earnings and avoid what we went through between 2009 and 2018. I mean, that was relying on hope that somebody's going to raise an interest rate is not a good strategy, but we were not in a position with our city funds to actually start placing those monies. We are in a much better position now, and from our investment officer Levi Bolt's work, my work, and my team's work, we're able to then reset our guidelines, and you've been very helpful and supportive of us when we've come forward with our investment guideline changes to make and adapt to a changing environment, to really build out a very successful program. So with what we're seeing right now, I really expect that there will be that rate cut, but one of the things I picked up yesterday from the Economic Club of Grand Rapids had a presentation from Ms. Diane Swank. She said, expect that inflation is going to get worse before it gets better. She said 2026, her beliefs are and her feelings are that the economy will be better off in 2026 than we are in 2025. So they're seeing the tailwinds build in. But again, she also highlights things like the impact of the tariffs. Those tariffs sometimes take 3 to 6 months to even impact our economy. As most businesses hear of a tariff, they're going to go out and they're going to forward purchase as much as they can to make sure that they can avoid that additional cost and keep their prices down where they're not having to pass it on to customers. There's still a lot that has to be filtered out, but I really want to give you the confidence that we're doing everything we can to make sure that the city is protected and that we're positioning our portfolio for strength in the future. With that, our portfolio is sitting at right now $834 million, and we're earning 3.65% on that portfolio.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Colleagues, any questions or comments? Commissioner, look, like you're thinking. All right. That's all right. So I just had one quick question. So with the assumption that, inflation could get worse before better, but the belief that maybe 2026 calendar year will be overall better for the economy, I guess when between now and then is there any idea or expectation as to when the inflation would get better before worse? Like, is it kind of Q4 of this year, Q1 of next, or?
Well, we're still waiting for those 3 to 6 months of tariff data to come through, and those things aren't settled yet. So we also have a very large lawsuit going on right now that might be us refunding tariff money. So that's headed, I think it's passed a number of courts right now. That could be detrimental to a couple different things, really, if we're having to write checks for hundreds of billions of dollars back to countries. That weighs on our economy, right? That weighs on our positions. So I can't really project a quarter that it's going to get better, but we're anticipating is that we're going to continue to see Fed rate cuts as this continues on. And really, the Fed has a target of a 2% inflation. And now I'm starting to hear rumblings that is that really a valid target? Because 2% has been the long standard of the Fed wanting to control that at 2%. What's our new normal now? Is our new normal going to be 3%? So I think they're starting to talk about what that looks like. I see that there's going to be continued Fed cuts as we've projected in our prior Treasurer's report. We showed up a timeline showing that funds rate dropped down to around 3.2% to 5%, I think, by January of 2027. So as those rate cuts happen, our economy is going to adjust. Our businesses are going to adjust. And hopefully what we're going to be seeing is that the improvement will start taking shape in 2026.
Got it. Awesome. All righty. Well, seeing no other questions or comments, we'll go ahead and receive and file that one. And then that'll bring us to our last item, number 11. We've got our city manager's report on contract and purchase approvals. And this is for a period of January 2024 through August of this year.
Support.
Well, yeah, this is
Go
just a
ahead.
report. So, yeah, exactly what it says. It's examples of use of city manager's authority in purchasing. So he has the authority up to $100,000 to authorize purchases. In the interest of transparency, we bring this report time to time just to keep the commission apprised of what are those types of purchases that he is using. A lot of times it's because it's we get a bid, the vendor won't hold the price for long enough for us to go to a commission meeting. So that's an example of when we would use it. The city manager also has authorization for emergency purchases, which is up to, I believe, $500,000. So just for your information, here's what we've done. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to follow up.
Great, thanks. I know too, when in events when there has to be an emergency purchase too, city manager will often reach out to us, or I know at least me as the chair of this committee, to keep us informed too, so nothing ever comes to our surprise. But always great to see the transparency here. So, all right, colleagues, any questions or thoughts on this last item? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and receive and file that, and that concludes our meeting today. So we'll go ahead and adjourn at 9 o'clock.
The time is now 9:15, and we're going to go ahead and call our Community Development Committee meeting to order. Good morning, everyone. Our first item today is a resolution approving a fireworks discharge permit for ATL Special FX for indoor special effects at the Van Andel Arena in conjunction with the John Party concert on September 18th, 2025.
So moved. Support.
Moved and supported? Yes, please go ahead, but remind me of your last name.
Roy LeGrone.
Roy
Fire.
LeGrone. Yes, thank you.
So we reviewed this, Ted Jensen did, Inspector Ted Jensen, and he approves or recommends the approval of this permit.
Okay. I don't know who John Party is, and somebody will probably be mad about that, but thank you for that update.
I
Country.
didn't know who either,
Okay.
so.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 2 is a resolution awarding a contract with Rockford Construction Company for construction management services in connection with improvements to Sullivan Field Phase 2 in the amount of $2,835,646, with the total amount not to exceed of $3,490,362.
So moved. Support.
Moved and supported?
Great.
Ms.
Hi.
Enriquez?
Yep. Hi, everyone. I'm Carrie Enriquez with the Parks Department. So we are here today for the much anticipated and excited second phase and final phase for improvements to Sullivan Field. This project started a handful of years ago with a partnership between the fans of Valley Field and the city of Grand Rapids. We started the first phase a year ago in 2024. That really focused mainly on the grandstand improvements. And when that project started, we peeled back all the siding, and there was a lot of more intense structural concerns than we had anticipated. So we had to put the project on hold to address all of those structural concerns. And that work was just completed by Rockford this past summer. And in the meantime, while we were working on those structural issues, we also were doing the design work for the Phase 2, which is what I'm here for today. So Phase 2 focuses on some more aesthetic improvements to the grandstand, but also really focusing on the site improvements. So looking at a museum space that really celebrates the history of this park, as well as new concession building, rehabilitated restroom facilities, and some field work as well. Rockford Construction was selected through a competitive construction management agreement back when we did the Phase 1, so we're continuing with them for this Phase 2 work. Construction is anticipated to start here this fall and be complete by the end of 2026.
Okay. Thank you for that timeline as well, Ms. Enriquez. Questions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next is a resolution awarding a contract with Wyoming Excavators, Inc. for reconstruction to Oakley Place from Lion Street to Crescent Street and drainage improvements in Perkins Avenue from 400 feet south of Lamberton Creek Lane, which is private, to 100 feet north of Brookmore Drive in the amount of $723,134, with a total amount not to exceed $1,076,640.
So moved. Support.
Mr. McCall?
Good morning, Commissioners. Jeff McCall filling in for Tim Berkman today, who's out. His wife was having a procedure done that he wanted to attend. This project was bid, there were two projects, Perkins and Oakley Place were bid together for both efficiencies because they were both kind of smaller projects. The contractor was given the option to build them either in 25 and or 26. They currently plan to build them both in 2026. The work on Oakley Place includes water main replacement, road reconstruction, new driveways, lead service line replacements. And the work in Perkins, there's been some kind of ongoing erosion due to the hill of the sidewalks being undermined. So this will install a ditch and a culvert under Perkins to alleviate that problem.
Okay, great, thank you. Questions, colleagues? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Item number 4 is a resolution awarding a contract with H.L. Bulkema Decorating for Government Center ramp signage and wayfinding painting in the amount of $125,970, with a total amount not to exceed of $255,635.
Support.
Moved and supported?
This project's a little bit unusual. It's kind of a specialized scope of work. We advertised it for bids. We did not receive any bids. And prior to the due date, we issued an addendum extending the bid period. Still no bids were received. So we did reach out to HL Bokomo Decorating for a proposal. They did provide a proposal for the work, which was $125,970, which was significantly under the engineer's estimate of $448,000. The work includes repainting stairwells, the inside of the ramp, and different wayfinding work around the government center ramp. The reasons we got for no bids were it was a unique project and it required a specific skill set. The project didn't fit into current workloads, and there was kind of more attractive projects on the market. So,
Thank you for that update. Colleagues, questions on this item?
Could you just clarify where this project, how this project is being financed? And I'm asking because it looks like in the package, it looks like a draft version, online version.
it'd be the Parking Services Fund.
Okay. Okay, great. And then City Clerk, could you just make sure we have the updated one online? This is what I'm seeing. You see?
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
so here's the draft one, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Hearing no other questions, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Item number 5 is a resolution approving an increase of $677,250.87 of the construction contract with Owen Ames Kimball and authorizing of a memorandum of understanding to add $963,362 and funding for a total not to exceed of $19,838,807 for the East Riverfront project.
So moved.
Moved and supported? Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Mike Stahl, in the engineering department. Excuse me. So when the East Riverfront project was bid last winter, it came in much higher than what our engineer's estimate was. So we worked with Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc. and the designer to remove specific scopes of work out of that project in order to bring it forward for award. Since then, Downtown Grand Rapids, Inc. has really been working on finding additional sources of funding so we can add those scopes of work back into the project. So in July, we came forward to add DDA funding to the project, to add some catenary lights in, and since then, DGRI has continued to work on adding funding. They have now attained a RAP grant from MEDC through the right place in the amount of $963,362. And so the item before you today is to approve the memorandum of understanding with DGRI to get that grant funding added into this project. And then also this item will amend the contract with the construction contractor, OAK, to add in pavers and swing benches into the contract as well. So we're still on schedule of being complete in 2026.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Saul. Questions? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 6 is a resolution authorizing an increase to the professional services agreement with Williams Architects for the fire training facility at 850 Pinal Street Northwest in the amount of $865,000 with a total amount not to exceed of $27,721,892.
Support.
Moved and supported?
This project, well, the first bid package was awarded back in March of 2025. That included pre-engineered metal buildings, concrete, steel, site work, and earthwork. This project is only for the construction engineering services with Williams Architects. The future bid packages they've actually already been bid, and we will be bringing a future item here later this fall to establish the guaranteed maximum price. At this time, we estimate that to be $46 million for the overall project, and the project's anticipated to be completed in the spring of 2027. The groundbreaking was just held a couple weeks ago here.
Thank you. Colleagues, questions on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Thank you. Item number 7 is a resolution accepting a sidewalk and utility easement at 1535 Adams Street Southeast and authorizing payment for $3,560 in conjunction with the water main and water main lining in Adams Street from Colorado Avenue to Sylvan Avenue and Roto-Mill resurfacing of Adams Street from Allerton Avenue to Gladstone Drive project.
So moved.
Moved and supported?
This is a project that's currently in design. It will be installing a new water main and lining the transmission water main that's in Adams currently. In the course of design, they discovered that the existing sidewalk, even though it's in line with the other sidewalks on the street, it's on private property. So it's really just kind of cleaning up a housekeeping item to get an easement for that existing sidewalk. Some of the larger corners on the street will be kind of squared up into more traditional intersections versus the large intersections that currently exist.
Okay. Thank you. Colleagues, questions on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Thank you. Item number 8 is a resolution accepting an easement, utility easement at 1700 28th Street for the nominal consideration of $1.
So moved.
Moved and supported?
Yes, this is a easement for a fire hydrant. It's for the new Meyer gas station being built at 28th and Kalamazoo. There was previously a sidewalk easement accepted by commission. Unfortunately, Meyer did not want the sidewalk and utility language included in that. So had they done that, we wouldn't need to be here doing this action. So, but yeah, so this is just to accept the utility easement for the hydrant.
Got it. Okay. Thank you for that clarification. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Item number 9 is a resolution scheduling a public hearing for September 23rd, 2025 to consider an amendment to the City of Grand Rapids Brownfield Plan to include the 443, why can't I say this? Sheldon redevelopment project located at 443 Sheldon Avenue Southeast. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Ms. Renero?
Yes, thank you. This is a Brownfield Plan public hearing for a property that's been vacant since 2000. I was actually transferred to the State Land Bank in 21, and with the portfolio transferred from the state to the Grand Rapids Land Bank Authority in February, came to the city. The developer's working on a purchase agreement to option. That goes through March of next year, but in the meantime, we're also working to partner on a brownfield plan for the project that includes 26 apartments across a roughly 18,000 square foot building. 6 of those units are anticipated to be 60% AMI, which is 20% of the units. And the total eligible activities for the brownfield plan are considered roughly $3.8 million. And this is a project that is in the DDA, so we're working with them. I believe this project is on their agenda tomorrow for the pass-through in partnership with the DDA. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Renero. Questions regarding this project? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. Our last item today is a resolution scheduling a public hearing for September 23rd, 2025 to consider an amendment to the City of Grand Rapids Brownfield Plan to include the Powers Place redevelopment project located at 764 and 800 Powers Avenue Northwest.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported?
Thank you. Yes, this is a brownfield plan for a public hearing involving a project in a neighborhood just south of Walker Avenue on Powers. It will be 2 different buildings, 4 units each for 8 townhomes, roughly $2.7 million in construction costs, with about $1.18 million in eligible activities for the brownfield plan. And I just want to call attention to the really large site prep number on the second page of this memo, being over $800,000 to really ready this site for housing because of the grade, because of a retaining wall, and all that jazz. It's important to note that because in order to accommodate the interim housing guidelines that require 20% of the units being affordable for either 10 years or the term of the brownfield plan, which in this case would be 25 years, the staff are recommending a waiver to that policy and allowing 1 unit to remain affordable for the full 25 years to really help make the pro forma work on this one. So I just want to call some attention to that, and that the brownfield plan, or the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority, approved that at their last meeting in And that was the last thing I wanted to say. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Renero. And I'm sorry, I don't remember, but this developer also received an emerging developer grant.
Did, yes.
At a previous meeting? Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay,
Yes.
thank you. I'm sorry, at a previous meeting, but in this last year.
Earlier in the year, yes.
Thank you. Colleagues, questions on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item carries. And with that, we can go ahead and adjourn our Community Development Committee at 9:30. Thank you.
turn on my mic. Call this meeting of Committee of the Whole to order. And our first item is Welcoming Week proclamation. And Mr. Davis, you're going to join us on the dais. And do we have someone from the chamber here as well? I don't know. They will be. Well, we're not out of time. So, this is exciting and important, I think, for Grand Rapids. We are, as I say a lot, a city that people want to move to and want to be in. And it's really, really a value of ours, and I don't think we could be clearer, that we want to be welcoming and inclusive and empowering of everyone who lives in our city now. But we also are a city that is glad to have people join us. And that's been true historically. I hear people all the time tell me that they moved somewhere else and then they came back to Grand Rapids because Grand Rapids was a place that wanted them to be there. And our ability to be a welcoming community is absolutely key to our success. And whether that's welcoming people from other countries or other states or other cities, we want to be a city that says there's room for everyone, and we want new talent, new ideas, new energy, and can't have enough of it. So, our proclamation, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'll read the high points. Whereas the success of Grand Rapids depends on ensuring that all Grand Rapidians are welcome, that new Grand Rapidians remain a vital part of our community, and alongside our longtime residents, they bring ideas, start businesses, serve in civic roles, and contribute to the vibrant diversity we value. And there's a lot of other whereases, but whereas the theme of the National Welcoming Week of 2025 is Stories We Share, and is focused on celebrating differences, spotting commonalities, and building understanding through the stories we share. Now, therefore, I, David LeGrand, Mayor of the City of Grand Rapids, Michigan, do hereby proclaim September 12 to 21, 2025 as Welcoming Week in Grand Rapids, and call on residents and stakeholders in Grand Rapids to join together in building a stronger community in Grand Rapids and relationships with all our neighbors, and to renew our commitment to our common values and to take actions in the spirit of welcoming. So, thank you all. Let's do a group picture. Real quick. Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor, City Commission, City Manager, and appointed officials. We just want to welcome some of our guests who have come in today. First of all, we're grateful for our partnership with the West Michigan Welcome Plan and all the people that serve on that steering committee. See representatives joining us now, including representatives from the Chamber, Samaritas, and also from our employee resource groups. And I just want to take a minute again to celebrate the amazing work that's done by our employees here at the City of Grand Rapids. They really live this value and push to make sure that we are a welcoming community. We're proud to be a welcoming community and proud of the work that's happening here. We'd also like to take this point to just welcome you all or invite you all to the West Michigan 2025 Global Gathering, which will be held on September 13th at Garfield Park from 12 to 6 p.m. There are flyers in the lobby. Again, that's a global gathering, which will be September 13th at Garfield Park from 12 to 6 p.m. There will be cultural presentations, a global market, fashion show, resource vendors, dance and family activities. It's going to be a good time. So again, thank you all, and thank you all for your amazing work. Yep, we'll head up. How you doing?
What's up, baby? How's it going? Came in 3 minutes. Good to see you.
How are you? Great. Joel. Good to see you.
I know, did I stand up?
All right, moving along, that brings us to the next, which is potential resolution to set a public hearing date for an application for issuance of economic development bonds submitted by the Michigan Christian Home doing business as Beacon Hill at Eastgate. And Ms. Renero, take it away.
Yes, good morning. Thank you. Yes, this is to help schedule a public hearing for the 23rd. The 23rd, yes, 23rd, for the EDC and its evaluation of issuance of bonds in the not-to-exceed amount of $190 million to help with the expansion and renovation of Beacon Hill Retirement Community. This project will include the expansion and revitalization of the western portion of the campus and the removal of a functionally obsolete building being the assisted living and memory care buildings. The existing skilled nursing building will be renovated to accommodate up to 29 new units, and the newly constructed building will house 101 new independent living apartments, along with 48 new traditional assisted living unit residences. So it's a little bit on the project itself. The public hearing is really to evaluate the project plan, which gets into more detail than I just described, and also will serve as the TEFRA hearing, which refers to Federal Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act of 1982, which is one of the many steps that we're clearing to help issuance of bonds through the Economic Development Corporation.
Great. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Any discussion, commissioners? The one thing that I guess it's worth maybe pointing out for the public, this is issuance of bonds by that entity, and they need our approval, but it doesn't impair our, credit rating or put any obligations on the city per se, and so it doesn't have any financial implications for the city.
Yes, correct. Thank you.
Great. Okay, seeing no other discussion, I would call for a vote. All in favor of moving to public hearing, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. And that takes us to the end of our committee of the whole discussion. We are intending to move into closed session following this morning's committee of the whole. So I would ask for a motion to move into into closed session following the public portion.
So moved.
Support.
City Clerk, if you can call the roll. And the purpose here is for discussion of labor and also review of employee.
Commissioner Gilbert? Yes. Commissioner Knight?
Yes.
Commissioner Robbins?
Yes.
Commissioner Asasi?
Yes.
Commissioner Purdue?
Yes.
Commissioner Belcheck?
Yes.
Mayor LaGrande?
Yes. That brings us to our briefings, and the first is an update on fiscal disclosures and City Commission Policy 100-06, and City Attorney, if you want to take it away.
All right. Thank you, City Commission, and thank you, City Manager, for keeping this prioritized on the agenda. I believe we were in front of you in July to talk essentially about what is currently existing from a financial disclosure policy, and we gauged the temperature of this City Commission to see should we continue the conversation about improving our fiscal disclosure. So this is not an action item today. I wanted to give you some additional research and some consideration and get your thoughts. I have a couple of different ideas for where to go from here. One would be keep what we have and be a little bit more diligent, or a lot more diligent about how we fill those out annually, and maybe set some parameters and accountability internally about how that's going to get managed. Option two might be refer it to the fiscal committee to do some more ideating and come up with a better document or a fiscal disclosure form that we could utilize and incorporate into 100-06. And option three is, tell me something different. Let's innovate together, and maybe there's something that's not option one or option two that I haven't thought about. But either option one or option two would be great, and I welcome any other feedback or thoughts that you might have. So if, Joel, I don't know if you can scroll through this item or if you have it in front of you, Commission, but what I did is, in the memo, posted what our current policy says and reiterated that our current policy is kind of a self-declaration. It's a self-governance by this city commission. The penalty for anyone that doesn't comply with the current policy is potential censorship or a public spanking, so to speak, by the city commission. And I think that sort of penalty is probably the appropriate one. More importantly, I tried to include a range of different options or ideas that other cities are doing, and also included a copy and paste of what the state does. So as you work through the attachments that follow this memo, you'll see the city of Detroit and many other municipalities are kind of like us. It's a little bit vague form. There's more detail here on the city of Detroit, but they have a board of ethics, and the board of ethics then does some additional scrutinizing of these potential disclosures. The city of Lansing starts to look a little bit closer to what the state law is. It's a relatively easy to navigate checkbox and then prompts for additional disclosures, and some room, as you see the following pages, that provide some additional space for narrative answers on some of the particular disclosures. Macomb County, again, appears to have an ethics board that collects and captures these for personal disclosures. And these look quite similar to the state disclosures that, again, are a good guide, but maybe are also imperfect for what this city commission might choose to do in the future. The last document is a copy and paste out of the Michigan State Law, MCL 15.706. I have synthesized a couple of the questions, like I took out the space for a home address and some things that maybe might not be necessary for disclosing finances. There's been some conversation about what spouses should or could disclose in addition to the public official. There was some conversation last time about liabilities in addition to assets being disclosed and potentially being helpful, and you'll see that included here after number 11. And then I've highlighted on the next page an area that really applies more strictly to state legislative officials or state elected officials, because lobbying is a term of art that doesn't necessarily apply to the city. We do lobby as a city, and so we are, I wouldn't suggest that 14, 15, or 16 be included in anything that were to move forward. I don't have a personal stake in this. I don't I don't have an opinion on what the next best move is for you all, but I'm happy to give context to the research that we've done in the law department. I'm happy to hear thoughts and ideas, and if there is a desire to come up with a different form, maybe the fiscal committee might be a good place to start to draft something together.
Thanks. So I'll go first. I think referring to the fiscal committee is a good idea. So we don't have to hash all the details here. I will highlight, though, I think the purpose of doing this, as far as I'm concerned, is two. One is to do our best to continue to make sure that we're very aware of the potential of conflicts of interests, because that would actually be bad. But I think the more important thing is we all know, and in the country, there has been a real decline in trust in government. And I think that in order to be trusted, you have to act in a trustworthy manner. And I think that this is an area where we can frankly up our level of acting trustworthy to the voters. And so I think that a good financial disclosure policy signals to the voters that we are working for them and not working for ourselves. And we don't have things to hide that they might want to know to test that proposition. Now, to getting into the weeds a little bit, I think that it is important to have spouses included, and I've used myself as an example before, but I'll do it again. Substantially all of my assets are in LLCs. I could, at breakfast this morning, have made my wife Melissa the sole owner operator of all of those LLCs, and then I would be able to say, "Look, it's magic. I don't have any assets." So if you have a spouse, you can simply give all your assets to risk-free. Then you can evade the intent of a form, and so I think it's really important to have spouses included, so that there's not a loophole that makes the entire thing not really work. And I've said, and I testified in Lansing, that they're not including spouses, I frankly thought was a vitiation of the entire state architecture on financial disclosure. I think it was a huge mistake to not have spouses included in the financial disclosure part. So I frankly hope that we can be a model for the state on how to do this better, because they had an opportunity to do it right and they failed. So I'd like us to do it right. The other thing that's, I guess, worth pointing out is, Mr. Strom knows this and lawyers know this, but with judges, there's a standard that's used that's not just impropriety, but the appearance of impropriety. And as elected officials, we don't want to only not do bad things, we don't want to have there even be an appearance we've done something bad. And so full and rigorous disclosure, I think, helps us avoid appearances that we have something to hide. And so I think as elected officials, the people have the right to hold us to a very high bar of being really, really certain that we are working for the voters and not working for ourselves. And that's the heart of what financial disclosure is about. So I think referring this to fiscal is good, but I do think we want to have a strong form. And my brief perusal of a number of these forms, they didn't look to me as though they were sufficient to cover all of the concerns that voters might have. At the same time, we want to make this something that's not impossible to comply with, that's fairly user-friendly, because we don't want to trip people up, any of us or any of our successors. We don't want to trip them up with a form that's hard to comply with and get accidental errors, because then you just created a new problem. So having something that's fairly user-friendly, and not onerous is, I think, also important. So I talked a little more than I meant to, but I think those are important issues. So anyone else have any guidance for our city attorney at this point? Great. Commissioner.
I must have a bias to that side, Mayor. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I'm sort of left biased, aren't I?
No. Thank you for this, and thank you, Mr. Strom, for putting this together. I agree. While transparency in government is overall important, I think the form of government that we have and what we have essentially access to, or what does that look like from how state government or federal government operates is different. I myself have submitted the form when I've gotten a new job, when my husband's gotten a new job. Those have probably been the most, or served on a different board. I support going to the fiscal committee, because I think as a body, we do have committees who do different work, and if they're, and that makes sense there. I also always think, how does this play out in the larger scheme? We also have our campaign finance reports that we're all subject to. I'm presuming that we all have spent over $1,000 in our elections, and so people can go on our campaign finance reports and see who's contributed to us and see what those actions might have been as well. And so I would like to make the form more dynamic. I think answering questions versus listing is more affirmative. You're actually having to respond versus, well, they're asking me to disclose, and so it's easier to say, well, I didn't disclose because I didn't feel like it fit the need. So I would be supportive of something that, I think it was Lansing, Mr. Strom, when I looked, you said something like that. Spouses, I think. I agree with the legal definition of that, Mayor. I also think my husband didn't decide to run for office. I did, and I'm a separate person than my husband, and I think that is also really important to me as a woman, is like, I'm not defined by my husband, and so there's some nuance there, but I could probably go either way. And and then just doing a regular review, just making it part, we just talked about doing a review today. We should have that review as well. Did we do it? Did we report on it? We could link it to our bio, that we have on the website as well, that, in this year. And so it's just easily available to our constituents. So those would be my suggestions, and I appreciate the work that's been done so far. Thanks.
Commissioner Pugh.
Thanks, Mayor. I appreciate the comments made thus far. I agree with many of Commissioner Yosasi's points regarding just the difference in our form of government. And I also think because we're part-time and stipend-based that we just want to be careful about how much time we might be investing in an extremely onerous, kind of over-the-top form. But I don't think that's what you're asking for, but I want to explicitly state that. I know part of your goal is to push and facilitate a culture of transparency with this body. And so I do think that a more regular check-in process to make sure those forms are updated, potentially adding some of those response questions, affirm or deny, might be a better way to capture some of that. And right now, I don't know if we know who's responsible for holding these, if it's more of a passive process or active process. So I think that step alone might help push and get us thinking more forwardly around other interests that we have, particularly business interests outside of kind of what we're doing within our role as commissioner. So I supported going to fiscal committee, but I don't see the form as needing a ton of change. But I think revisiting the timeliness of it, the schedule, how often we're checking in will be a marked improvement.
So just so everyone knows, my target here is literally a form that would take less than 10 minutes to fill out. I think that that's perfectly achievable and would give voters a whole lot of comfort. I will say, and I told the city attorney this earlier today, I asked him if he had ever looked at the congressional financial disclosure form. I have, and if anybody wants to try, you can pull it up and imagine filling it out for yourself, and you get about a page in, and you get really nervous because they ask you all these questions, and they want you to value everything, and you think like, do I have to disclose the carpet in my living room? Like, what's it worth? Like, I don't remember how much we bought that carpet for. Do I have to depreciate it? Like, it asks you questions that start feeling very, very intrusive, and but there's a lot of conversation at the federal level right now about like, should congressional people flat out not be allowed to buy stock? Now, I don't think that we are altering the course of NVIDIA's valuation at the City Commission. So absolutely, I don't think we need to be anything near the federal level of analysis, and people who fill out that federal form usually hire an accountant. So I am not envisioning a form that puts a burden on us. I'm envisioning a form that's pretty easy to fill out. You take a good look at it. I also think, and this is something we can talk about, but how often you have to refresh this, I think annually is a good target, because if you, for example, forget, if you do something mid-year and we have a 10-day fuse on you having to update your form, and you're like, oh man, I did X and I had to disclose that, and you miss a 10-day filing deadline, then all of a sudden we all know how onerous campaign finance filings are, right? There are hard deadlines, and if you miss a comma, all of a sudden you got a $25 fine, and you got to submit amended forms. And I'm not interested in getting us to anything like that level of compliance or that level of work. I think we can simply up our game here, provide the voters with some reassurance of what I'm absolutely confident of, which is everybody up in this dais is working for the people. And it's simply a matter of sort of showing your work, showing what I know is already the case. And if we build a culture of transparency, I think it's just generally good. So any other comments or questions? Otherwise, I think that sounded like sentiment for referring this to fiscal. So thank you, City Attorney. Moving us along to our final briefing then, and I have lost my little, oh, there we go. Update on the MLK Community Center, and I assume this is anticipated uses and who's going to?
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners. I see Ms. Bohatch is coming, along with our interim Parks Director this morning. As you know, we've had several transformational projects that we're fortunate to develop coming out of the pandemic, many assisted with state and federal funding. And we spent a lot of time speaking about amphitheater and soccer stadium and the fire stations, but this is yet another great transformational project happening in our city at the Martin Luther King Community Center, one that has been long envisioned by residents and neighbors, and that is taking a lot of that same collaborative approach between local funding, state funding, and other partnerships. And so today, the staff is prepared to give an update, and I think it's an important reminder somehow as we talk about many of the great things happening in our city. This, if you've not been by the Martin Luther King Center lately, it is truly an impressive edifice that's going up. And so we wanted to make sure that we can visibly share it in the chamber, and hopefully we'll look forward to that great day of breaking or cutting it open there. So with that, Ms. Bohatch is going to kick us off.
Good morning. So we are really excited to provide this briefing today as we prepare for the opening of the new community center at Martin Luther King Park, which will occur in early next year. The project started as a concept as a major building renovation, and it took into consideration community input. But it was being designed from a resource-constrained perspective. So we listened to what the community wanted and what was needed, but was really looking more focused on trying to meet those needs with limited resources. Former city commissioners, Sunita Lanier and Nathaniel Moody, really pushed us to flip that thinking and to use this as an opportunity to create what could be in the neighborhood, and also to what could be a transformational project for the community in general. So we went back to the drawing board, and when we saw the new design plans from the talented Isaac Norris, we just knew there was no going back. We had to figure out how to make this investment, which would be very significant in our third ward. And so we are here today with a number of park staff that Ms. Claypool will probably introduce when she speaks, to give you just an overview of the facilities itself and the operations plan. But the project was really made possible through quite a variety of resources that included our Parks Millage Fund, the city's capital fund, the Third Ward Equity Fund, city dedicated ARPA funds, and then thanks to our Senate Majority Leader Winnie Brinks and Representative Christian Grant, we received an MEDC grant. So it was a significant capital stack that took us from a small project to a very significant, nearly $20 million investment. So I'm going to turn it over to Laura Claypool, who is our interim Parks and Recreation Director, who's going to highlight for you the extensive community engagement process that was used to get here, and walk you through the building amenities and then our operations plan.
Okay, greetings. We are very excited to be here today. And before I get started, I just want to recognize what a pivotal point we are here. This is a generational investment like we haven't seen in decades and decades in the park system. And it has been a long time coming, conversations over 10 years. The team that you see behind me, these are very passionate parks professionals that touch the project in lots of different ways, from the planning and engagement and project management, capital construction, and now rolling into this new phase where we look to bring this facility online and offer it to the community. We have our programming leads, our operational leads, our communication leads, and it is really one of those projects that reaches and touches every dimension of the Parks Department. So I just want to acknowledge all of the work that this group has done to bring it to this point, and the excitement that we have to bring this forward. So I think it's really important first to take a moment and reflect back on how we got to this point. Ms. Bohatch mentioned a little bit of how we arrived. But the vision for the project was formally structured around the quality of life study, which was in 2018 and 19. And it really was looking at a shared vision for improving the quality of life in the Martin Luther King Park neighborhood. A portion of this vision was creating the long-term goals, but what was delivered in 2019 were some recommendations and a very clear project vision that included the vibrancy of the neighborhood, a facility that was accessible to the entire community, that it could be year-round operational, had space for community events, that it was practically designed, and that was really reflective of the rich history of the neighborhood. And so with all of those things in mind, we moved into this very long, extensive 5-year engagement process. During that 5 years, we formed a stakeholder committee. There were 45 separate touch points throughout the community. 6,500 community members were involved throughout the process. 4 rounds of postcards mailed to a half-mile radius, and then we also had a dedicated project page. So I just want to remind you what the lodge looked like. This was the vision created. And if you have not been by, City Manager did mention this picture was taken via drone in July, and it's had significant progress even since then. So all of that engagement led us to this design. This space was designed around community voice, around community need, around years and years of engagement and planning. What you see is a full-size basketball court, a rentable event space for 200, a fitness studio, 2 rentable classroom spaces that have roll-up doors to the pool that can be used for pool parties. And then we also have office space for the Department of Our Community's Children and also office space for the King Park Neighborhood Association. So I want to say the structure of the facility we ended up with was engagement focused, but so is the programming that I'm going to introduce to you. We heard over and over again that there needed to be a community venue space that was open and invited, that there was youth-focused programming, opportunities for intergenerational connection, and then overall increased utilization of the park and the facility. And so what I'm about to share with you is years and years of planning. We intend to have open gym basketball, which is free to residents. There will be a drop-in charge for non-residents. We intend to have a free teen program during the school year from 3 to 6 o'clock every day with program leads intended to give teens coming out of school a safe place to go, structured activities. We plan to have free open pickleball throughout the week for residents, drop-in rate for non-residents. We would like to expand the summer day camp program that we currently have there. We have about 75 youth that come into the facility throughout the summer. We plan to expand that program. And then we'll also do programming there through a regular registration process for both youth and adult fitness. We will also have some free 50-plus programming offered throughout the week. So with that as a framework, I just wanted to give you some ideation of what we're looking at as far as gym utilization. We would like to have the facility open for basketball, open gym at some point 7 days a week. And that may shift and ebb and flow through the changes of the calendar. But our youth program would have designated space, use the space for pickleball, use the space for youth programming, dance classes, instructional basketball, those types of things. I want to focus real quick on the event space because it was designed with a very elevated level of sophistication and charm that matches the vibrancy of the community. And we can see up to 200. We anticipate having this available to the community for rent. I believe when we open the doors, we're going to have a slow roll and we'll offer it 3 to 5 days a week for rent. And then we do also have those 2 classroom spaces that are both also available for rent. So with that being said, I want to talk real quick about our programming rates. So the fees for the rentals were set through a detailed analysis of city existing fees, cost recovery, but also we did a pretty in-depth market analysis of what similar facilities. And the rates that you see before you still set us at a very significant savings over what you would be able to find in a market. Significant savings for residents, $150 an hour for residents, $300 for non-residents with a 3-hour minimum. Less for the classroom spaces, $50 and $100. We are setting fees, or we intend to set fees at this point in time for gym rental and fitness facility rental, but we don't anticipate utilizing those spaces for rent at this point. Again, we're going to open the doors. We're going to get really good at the programming that we have planned before we look to expand. So you may be asking yourself, what sort of staffing structure will it take to run this level of programming? We are seeking to hire one recreation program technical supervisor. That will be the only full-time staff that will be permanently housed at the facility. And then there will be a number of part-time positions from customer support. The visual that you see is when you walk in the front door to the left, there will be a welcome center. We envision having a customer support person there, 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. Monday through Sunday, as long as the facility is open and operational. We'll have a leader on duty who will be kind of a floating manager, if you will, supporting our full-time position, assisting in event rentals. We will be hiring teen program teachers, teen program leads. The budget. So we anticipate the budget for fiscal year 26 to be about $262,000, and that covers personnel, supplies, contracts, utilities, maintenance expenses, and then first-year investment in equipment. The operation will be funded through a combination of user fees, park millage, and park maintenance of effort. Walk you through our timeline. So I think Connie mentioned at the beginning that we are looking to open the doors in February, which means our feet are hitting the ground running fast with getting ready for this level of programming. At this point in time, our timeline is staff recruitment and training, community notification, establishing things such as standard operating procedures, emergency action plans, creating marketing materials, and really developing a communication plan so that we can ensure that these programs that we're excited to be offering the community, that we have the messaging right and we're hitting the right spaces for that. And finally, the doors opening. My final slide is next steps. The city manager has the administrative ability to set the fees, so that would be step one. We will be bringing forward a budget amendment at the September 23rd meeting to appropriate for this level of programming. Then we would move right into recruiting and hiring the supervisor, and then rolling with the other implementation items that I mentioned on the last slide. So I shared a lot of information with you in a very short period of time, and I'm very happy to take any questions that you may have.
Mayor and Commissioners, before you begin with questions, again, I want to thank Ms. Claypool and the staff for all the work in bringing forth this project to fruition. And I see Dervin there. We spent a lot of time on site, and Carrie, and helping with the design, so thank you for your work. I do want to footnote the budget amendment. This is just for fiscal year 26, and that's a partial cost. So we'll plan for fiscal year 27. In that budget, I can't recall the numbers, but we anticipate it may be at least 2 to 3 times that amount.
We're anticipating someplace between $450,000 and $500,000 a year, again, supported through our normal operation.
So the scale of the operation to run that and the swimming pool, $500,000 a year, plus the investment, this is almost a $20 million project. So I just want to underscore the significant amount of investment in this project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so, and I guess to that point, City Manager, how much of this is coming from the millage of that $500,000, and how much of it would come from?
Well, we haven't developed the fiscal year 27 budget yet, but for 26, the amendment is, 90% of it is coming from the millage, more than 90%. So of 262,000, 250,000 is coming from the millage.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Commissioner Robbins?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Just one quick question, more logistically. So the resident versus non-resident rates, I guess, what is the policy or procedure going to look like? I'm just imagining if I'm a kid, I don't know, like, how to prove my residency when I show up for a free activity. So does that only apply to like adults, or I guess what is it? Do you just show up with a driver's license, or if someone doesn't have a driver's license, can they use like a utility bill? I guess.
Sure.
Trying to think through that.
Yes and yes.
Okay.
Those are, again, the administrative things, those policies and procedures that would be putting into place, but something like a school ID.
Okay.
I think we'll have a pretty long laundry list too.
Yep, just curious. Thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner Purdue?
Thank you. Thank you for the update and the countdown to February. I'm so excited. I'm really excited. So a few follow-up questions and comments. I love the outline and the plans around programming. It seems really robust, engaging lots of different age groups, really very accessible and very price point. I'm curious, are those, particularly the teen program after school, are those programs run by the city? Are they school partners? Can you talk a little bit more about how that is intended to work?
Sure. So we would be running a program that would it would be run by the Parks Department in conjunction and collaboration with our community's children, and we would be running programming that would be that would run parallel to existing programs that already exist in the community. Not looking to take programming from other organizations, but to walk alongside and find those gaps.
So when you say team programming, are you referring to existing programs within OCC, like the Mayor's Youth Council, Grow 1000, and others, or is this intended?
No, this would be a standalone program. It would be a registration process. It would be you're registered, you can come if it works in your schedule, and essentially we're just opening the doors and giving an opportunity for a safe space for after school movement. So pick up basketball, of programming in a space that would be designated for teens, having a space for after-school studies and that type of thing. But we do envision it to be a program that's run and led by our department.
Would there be a space where just anyone can drop in and have coffee and just chit-chat? Non-structured activities?
We don't have that established at this point in time, but it doesn't mean that it's something that we can't look at down the road. That's a great idea.
Just to clarify, though, our community's children will be headquartered.
Yes, they will.
There, or office there, I should say.
Yes.
At the center, and so that will be a place people can drop in and have an opportunity to talk and talk about career opportunities.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. To your point around having a safe place to go after school and on the weekends, I do notice that some of the proposed programming or hours really end at 8 p.m. on a lot of nights. I don't know how much of that is set in stone, but just ask to consider what the needs for engagement are around that time frame. 6 to 8 still seems like folks are still out, going to programming, wanting to hang out, wanting to do their homework, play basketball. So I'm thinking about how to make sure that it truly is serving that purpose. So would just encourage us to look at that to make sure that we're taking full advantage of this major investment. And then finally, just to plant a seed, we've talked about this in relationship to trash, typically, like bag tags, but having community located spots to pick up things like that. And I wonder about the possibility, in addition to OCC being headquartered there, might there be some sort of space where there's like some sort of drop-in office, some city hall kind of connection, whether it's bag and tags, or a really great point to meet your commissioner for a conversation. So those are some of my thoughts around considering when we kind of figure out how to fully operationalize the space. And then the last thing that I want to note is just related to the rental spaces. I think that slide, rental rates, I'm sorry. Slide 13. I'm thinking about a birthday party, and I'm thinking about $450 for a multi-purpose room for a kid's birthday party, and that feels extremely out of reach. One of the things that I'm hearing a lot related to the community hub in Boston Square now is that the rental rates are just out of reach. They're out of reach for neighborhood associations. They're out of reach for many families who live adjacent in the neighborhood to the community hub, and I think that will be the same for MOK. So I know that we've designed programs and assistance in the past to help folks access special event planning, for example, through the city, and wonder how we might also provide relief or access in this way for folks who can't afford $450 to take advantage of this community space.
Okay, appreciate that.
Cool. City Manager, you want to?
Yeah, just it's important because we got to make sure we're clear on the fees. So a couple of questions for clarification. How different are these fees from the current fees or from what's charged in other facilities across the city? Wanted to clarify that. And for an example, that multi-purpose room is the big ballroom area, but for a party, for a birthday party for a family, would these other rooms be usable, and how many people would they account for?
30. So the classroom spaces would accommodate 30 for a smaller birthday party type.
Okay, for A and B.
Correct.
And the multi-purpose room is seats of up to how many?
200.
200 people.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, I see that. Thank you. My point still remains. I mean, looking at a classroom, it will still be $100 minimum for a birthday party to rent out a classroom, to rent out a gym, and I still see that being out of reach for many in our community. And that's based on a lot of feedback from neighborhood associations with some of the new community spaces too. So I think we have a way to make sure this stays accessible.
And if you can clarify the first question I asked, how different are those fees from other community centers?
Well, I can tell you this: the 200-person rental space, even at $450 for 3 hours, is still significantly less than 95% of the other spaces we looked at. So for a space like that, a brand new space for 200, it is still priced at a rate that hopefully could be more affordable than some of the other things that are out there on the market.
I figure that would be the answer and still challenge us to think about how we can make sure that this public space that is 95% paid for by our millage can make sure that it stays accessible to everyone.
Sure.
Commissioner Sassi.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for this presentation. I think, I don't know how many times I've heard this update, but to see those drone pictures and to reflect a little bit about, it was just the time and circumstance, the hard work of the department, and not missing a beat. You know, we've had a leadership transition, so the kudos to you as well, Mrs. Claypool. So I'll echo the same sentiment from Commissioner Perdue. You know, I think and it's probably like a broader conversation. Maybe we can bring this up when we kind of connect in October. We've talked about water assistance. We've talked about, you know, we had some things regarding, you know, some of the differences in the odd even, although I didn't, you know, I voted I wasn't in the majority on that. But looking at where, you know, is there an opportunity, kind of what we've done with some of the scooters and things like that, where people could apply and qualify for maybe not a reduce? Because I think the question is, like, how do we weigh what we're hearing from community? And I would say I've heard the same things. Obviously, we have a lot of different assets throughout the community where people can, you know, rent out a park, and, you know, there's different, you know, this is a new build, so essentially kind of like housing, we've got to you know, we've gotten the money, but there's also the maintenance of this, you know, for the life of this as well. And so I think that's another consideration for us to think about. But as somebody who, we were talking last week, as somebody who went to a gymnastics class there before, this is just, all these things kind of came together. So I would be supportive of, you know, I don't think we're going to solve this here today, but could we look at sort of how we've structured some other assets in the community and made them more accessible to those who might meet certain thresholds or income guidelines, recognizing that I also think, like, you have to have skin in the game when you're renting a place because you want it to be left in a certain way. And, you know, Commissioner Lanier isn't here, but she owns a building, and I sit in that building, and we talk a lot about what are those rental fees because it's getting used. And so the asset is, you know, the wear and tear and all the different things. So, but But I would be supportive of if, we could have that conversation, particularly how we look at what we did for the micro mobility, which I think was a good example of, trying to get people in that last mile or even more than the last mile. So, thank you.
Appreciate the comments.
Thanks. So, seeing no one else, great project, exciting to see this come along. I will say that I'm assuming that the city manager will think about making sure that we don't have so many pool parties that we don't have general admission at that pool, because it certainly looks like a good place to have a party. Anyway, thank you so much for the briefing, and this is really exciting to see going on. So thanks.
So before we go, so just to be clear on the next steps, we would be coming back next
For a
week
budget amendment.
for a budget amendment, and I will have the staff do some comparative analysis of fees before signing off on the final fees.
Great. And I will adjourn us and move us into closed session. Thank you.
6:01.